Alright. So I am just leaving Mike and Jen's house. I stopped by the Wawa, by their house. Jen wasn't home, Mike was. And, yeah. I was in the neighborhood, so I called Mike. I'm like, hey, how are you? Are you home? What are you up to? He was like, yeah, I'm home. So I'm like, can I stop by? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I went to his house, and unfortunately Jen wasn't there, but her sister's doing much better. So that's awesome. And we talked for a while, and I was actually out in this area to go to Thunderbird Lanes, and it's close to where Mike lives. So I stopped by his house. I actually called him before I went to the bowling lane. I'm like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. You home? So he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop by. And he was like, okay. And so that's pretty awesome. And so yeah, I got to see Mike tonight, which is awesome. He's a good friend of mine. I've been friends with him for about 10 years, since 2006. 9 years, because it's 2015 now. So we've been friends for a very long time. I actually met him while he was a pharmacist, and I got eye drops from the pharmacy because I had an eye infection because I was working at UPS at night, and I got some dust in my eyes from the boxes, and I was wearing my contacts like non-stop. So I went to the doctor after 3 weeks of this eye infection, and he's like, why didn't you come to me sooner? And Dr. DeBrady actually became my main doctor that I went to for everything because I had a lot of iron in my blood at the time after I did a blood panel for a job. Anyway, so getting back to UPS time, because that's years later I'm talking about. But anyway, I met my doctor that I had when I was living in Philadelphia, and he was an awesome guy. He's an awesome doctor. He's super nice. He's awesome. And so I got some eye drops from him. I went down to the pharmacy. I filled my prescription. And the next time I was shopping at the store, I was listening to a podcast on entropy. And he grabbed my arm. And he's like, hey. And I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? And he's like, oh, I'm good. He's like, what are you listening to? I'm like, a science podcast on entropy. And he was like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, entropy is where chaos becomes more chaotic. And he's like, oh, I know what that is. And I'm like, that's awesome. And so we started talking, and he's like, I'm married. I'm like, yeah, I know, I see your rings. And he literally put his hand up and he pointed to his ring. He's like, I'm married. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I saw your rings. And he's like, oh, you're so observant. I'm like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, I think that you really like my wife, Jen. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I should really set us all up to go out on, meet each other and meet and greet and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And, I was like, okay, this is fine because, he has a wife and, it's all good. And I was actually living at the Chestnut Hill Towers at the time with James. And, and I was working at UPS at night, and I was going to school during the day, and after school I was working as an admissions representative, and, then I'd walk home from school, and in the morning I was a lab tech until I left the job as a lab tech to keep the job as a UPS package handler loading trucks, because it was better benefits, and I could keep it longer than the lab technician job that I had, because that was through school. And it was a school-funded program, and once I graduated, I wasn't going to get to keep that job, and they didn't have the benefits that I needed at the time. At least I thought that I needed. Really, I wanted the benefits, and I wanted the pay. I really liked PD4 that I was working on. Like, all the people were awesome. It was Tommy, it was Jason, it was me, it was Rachel, it was Anthony, who is awesome. He's awesome. So, we had this it was Derek, it was Reggie, we had this really great group, and it was a really great group of people, and they were all nice, and Manon was awesome. He gave me rides to and from work every night, because I lived down the street from him, and for years he did that. He was awesome to me. And, I met these awesome people, and so when Tommy came to me, he was like, look, you really have to be here these days. It was Thursday night and Friday night. And I'm like, I can't, he's like, if you can't be here, then you have to choose. And I'm like, okay, because, it was after the admissions representative job, because I was at the same place, I was working at the school, and then after that, I was working for the lab technician job at the school, but the admissions representative job wasn't, a senior program. It was a legitimate job. I wasn't going to lose it once I stopped going to school there. So it was awesome. And I'm like, Tommy, look, I can't, like, I really need to keep this one, you know. And he's like, well, if you can't, you know, be here for all the time I need you here, then you can't do it. And I'm like, he's like, you really got to choose. And I'm like, okay, well, I choose the other one. And I did. I chose UPS. I stayed at UPS. UPS was great until I broke my arm 2 weeks into UPS, and then I broke my finger a couple of years into UPS, and the eye infection and stuff like that. You know, there's hazards to the job. I wore the face mask every night, and I wore the hovels around my ears to block out a lot of the noise, and, you know, I wore the same clothes every single night to UPS. Didn't care. Same clothes, because you were going to be filthy when you walked out of there anyway. So I was wearing like 3 different outfits throughout my entire day. I was wearing my school clothes, my work clothes, and my other work clothes. And like, so I had like outfit changes throughout my day. It was awesome in a way. You know, I was going through so many clothes though. Like now it's mainly James's clothes, because James has work clothes and after work clothes. You know, so it's him going through a lot of clothes and me like wearing the same stuff for a few days, and then, you know, doing what I do. Like, you know, it's all good. So like, just the clothes pile has shifted from my clothes to his clothes, which is awesome. Karina is asleep in the back seat. That's where she is. She's safe, she's warm, she's sleeping, she's happy. So that's awesome, and I'm just happy that she is asleep right now. I'm not going to Thunderbird Lanes. I'm actually going home. I'm going actually to Chick-fil-A to get the free kids meal for Karina, which I'm actually going to eat, but I want her to see the playhouse that they have there, and I think that would be a pretty good experience. But now I think it's going to be closed, so I kind of want to wait till tomorrow to do it. I wasn't planning on staying at Mike's. I wasn't planning on going to Mike's house tonight. I wasn't planning on staying there for as long as I did either, but I did. And the only reason why I went there was because I was in the neighborhood. So, you know, all good stuff though. I'm glad I got to see Mike tonight and spend some time with him, just talking, catching up, and talking about old things, and, you know, just seeing how he was doing, because I haven't gotten to see him in a while, and he hasn't gotten to see me in a while, and I haven't gotten to see Jen in a while, even though she wasn't there tonight. I'll eventually catch up with her. So, they're good people though. They really are good people. Yeah, this is about what I'm doing though. I'm just driving home and rambling. I don't think I have anything else to ramble about. I think I ran out of stuff. I was talking to Mike about my yard sales, and yeah, he's like, I'm not going to go the day that you're selling hot dogs. I honestly didn't really think about hot dogs. I thought about stromboli and pizza, but hot dogs is actually a good idea. I should be selling like ginger salted hot dogs, like dirty water hot dogs that they sell in New York. I should, like Sabrettes. I should get a pack of Sabrettes and sell Sabrettes or something there. I'm gonna have baby food for the little kids. I'm gonna, like, the only rule at my yard sale is that no one's allowed to touch my kid. Like, I think I'm even gonna put that like on the flyer. Like, you're welcome to come, you're welcome to eat, you're welcome to buy things. Do not touch my baby. Some of this money is even going to 10% of it. Actually, I'm gonna send 10% of whatever I earn at the end of summer down to March of Dimes, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's just going to be an anonymous check, just this is for you, you know, type of thing, and I did this because I wanted to, type of thing. So I think that's a lot of fun, and it's going to be hopefully a big bang. I hope that I make a lot of money by the end of the year, but who knows, it could be like pennies on the dollar. I could have wasted more money setting up for it than I did even making it. So it's all good either way though, because I'm having fun treasure hunting, and I'm having fun just preparing for it. So I just hope that I don't make a whole bunch of food and it all goes. Honestly, even if I make a bunch of food, it'll end up in freezer meals. So like if I have a bunch of pizza or something, it's just going to be like when I had Karina, because I haven't cooked anything worthwhile in a long time. Like, I really haven't. I haven't made anything. Like, I was supposed to be making soup, and I just don't have enough time to make it. And James is like, what are you doing with, you know, chicken? I'm like, that's not chicken, it's turkey. He's like, well, what are you doing with the turkey? And I'm like, it's supposed to be soup. I don't really know right now. Like, he's like, you ran out of time, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah. So, and, so I don't really know what I'm doing with that turkey, like, turkey soup that's in the refrigerator. I should really debone it and make the noodles and freeze it or something. I should really finish it out. And if I'm gonna finish it out, I really have to finish it out like tomorrow, because it's gonna end up going bad if I don't. But I don't know. I just don't feel like I have the time for it. But then again, I run around outside a lot. Like, I like to take walks and I like to go places. And James is like, spending all your time outside the home. I'm like, I know. I do though. Like, I love having the freedom of a car, and this car is awesome. I just did the mileage on it because I got gas. 24 miles to the gallon. How awesome is that? It's like my little Pontiac, except for 3 miles better. And I had a 6-cylinder. Honestly, that's not saying much, but it's pretty awesome. I'm glad. Like, I like that we have a little 4-cylinder. I'm glad that we're getting another 4-cylinder. I'm glad that we're selling the Jeep. Honestly, it's time for the Jeep to go. It's time to sell the Jeep. Not that the Jeep's a bad car. It's really not. It's just a 6-cylinder. And the price of gas is down. But for us in our budget, we don't have any money. We don't have anything. Like, we were $56 short just paying our bills in our budget. So I had to borrow money from our savings account and put it into our regular account. And, so that this way we could cover what we're doing with the gas and what we're doing with the diapers and what we're doing with stuff. Like, I had and James wanted to do stuff, and, I had to pull the money from savings. And I'm glad that I save, and I'm glad that I'm a penny pusher, and I pinch every penny, and I don't pay full price for things usually. I treasure hunt, all my groceries are bought at Aldi's, it's just, and Walmart too, like, that's where we buy the groceries, and the dollar store. The dollar store is pretty great for a lot of things. And if you're ever looking for something, go to the dollar store first, because they might have it. And if you can't find it, ask a teller. They'll help you find it. But the dollar store is pretty awesome. Honestly, I'm supposed to be making candles, forever candles actually, just with the shortening for my yard sales. And I think that I'm going to have to buy a couple of scented oils from the dollar store. I had a whole bunch of them and I got rid of all of them. I should have kept some of them. I wasn't looking forward though. I was looking at, a couple of years ago, I got rid of everything. I just gave everything away. I didn't want anything. So I go through that like every couple of years. Like, I give everything away to donation, and now I'm just like, sell it all, instead of just giving everything away, So that's where I'm at right now. Instead of giving it all away, everything in my mudroom is meant to be sold. And that's just the way that it is. But I went from giving everything away to collecting things and now selling them. So I think it's a good transition. And I think that it's going to pan out pretty good. So I'm not really sure. Alright, I guess that's it for my update. I don't really have much to update. And it's dark and you can't see me anyway.